Stop whatever you are doing right now because if you are planning to apply for Australian permanent residency in 2026, there is something happening in Australian immigration policy right now that you absolutely cannot afford to ignore. The Australian government has made a significant policy shift in its approach to permanent residency and skilled migration, and the impact of these changes is already being felt by thousands of applicants around the world who had no idea this was coming. Some people are finding that pathways they were counting on have become harder to access. Others are discovering that new opportunities have opened up that they were not aware of. And many applicants are simply sitting in the dark, following outdated strategies, submitting expressions of interest based on old information, and wondering why nothing is moving forward for them. If you want to understand exactly what has changed, why it has changed, and most importantly, what it means for your personal PR journey, then stay right here, because this video is going to give you everything you need to know. Welcome to Australia PR Insider, the channel that is completely dedicated to helping you navigate the Australian immigration system with confidence, clarity, and the most accurate information available. We do not guess, we do not speculate, and we do not repeat outdated advice that could mislead you at the most important moment of your life. Every video on this channel is built around one goal, and that is to make sure you are always one step ahead when it comes to your Australian PR journey. If you are not yet subscribed to Australia PR Insider, please do that right now and hit the bell icon so that every important update we publish reaches you immediately. Because in a system that changes as frequently as Australian immigration, being informed at the right time is not just helpful, it is absolutely essential. Now let us get into the policy shift that is reshaping Australian PR in 2026 and what it means for you personally. To understand why this policy shift is happening, you first need to understand the bigger picture of what Australia is trying to achieve with its immigration program in 2026. For the past several years, Australia's net overseas migration was running at historically high levels. In the post-pandemic period, Australia saw a massive surge in international arrivals, including students, temporary workers, and skilled migrants all entering the country at the same time. This surge put enormous pressure on housing, infrastructure, healthcare, and public services in major cities like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. The cost of renting a home in Australia's major cities reached record highs. Hospital waiting times increased. Roads and public transport systems became more congested, and ordinary Australians began to feel the pressure of rapid population growth in their daily lives. In response to this, the Australian government made a deliberate and clear policy decision to reduce total migration numbers, improve the quality and targeting of the skilled migration program, and redirect population growth away from overcrowded major cities toward regional areas of Australia that genuinely need more skilled workers and residents. This decision is the foundation of the policy shift that is now affecting every single person who is planning to apply for Australian PR in 2026. The first and most direct impact of this policy shift is a reduction in the total number of places available in Australia's General Skilled Migration Program. The GSM program is the program that covers the Subclass 189 Independent Skilled Visa, the Subclass 190 State-Nominated Skilled Visa, and the Subclass 491 Skilled Work Regional Visa. When the total number of available visa places is reduced, it means that fewer invitations are issued in each skill select round. Fewer invitations means that the competition for each available place becomes more intense. And more intense competition means that the points pass mark required to receive an invitation goes up. If you were planning your PR application based on a point score that was competitive 12 or 18 months ago, you need to reassess that calculation right now because the goalposts have moved. The pass mark for the Subclass 189 visa in particular has been trending higher, and for many occupations, it is now sitting at levels that were considered exceptional just a couple of years ago. The practical message here is simple and direct. If your current point score is below 80, you are at serious risk of waiting for a very long time without receiving an invitation. You need to find every legitimate way to increase your score as quickly as possible. The second major element of the policy shift is the government's intensified focus on regional migration. Australia has been trying for years to encourage more skilled migrants to settle in regional areas rather than concentrating in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. But in 2026, this push has become more serious, more structured, and more generously incentivized than ever before. The subclass 491 skilled work regional visa has been elevated in priority within the overall migration program. State and territory governments that manage regional areas have been given more nomination places to fill, and they are actively recruiting skilled migrants in shortage occupations to come and live in their regions. The incentive for migrants is significant. The points threshold for receiving a 491 nomination is generally lower than for the 189 or 190 pathways, making it accessible to applicants who sit in the 65 to 80 points range. After living and working in a regional area of Australia for 3 years on the 491 visa, you become eligible to apply for the subclass 191 permanent residence regional visa, which grants you full Australian permanent residency. Additionally, the Australian government has been working on expanding the definition of what qualifies as a regional area for visa purposes, and some locations that are relatively close to major cities are now included in the regional framework. If you have been dismissing the regional pathway because you assumed it meant living in a remote outback location, it is worth taking a much closer look at what regional Australia actually includes in 2026, because you may be surprised by the options available to you. The third important element of the policy shift involves changes to the employer-sponsored visa pathway and its relationship to permanent residency. The subclass 482 temporary skill shortage visa has long been a popular pathway for skilled workers to enter Australia and eventually transition to permanent residency. Under the current policy changes, the government has made it clearer that employer sponsorship is a valued and legitimate route to PR for workers in genuine shortage occupations. However, the government has also tightened the rules around which employers can sponsor overseas workers and has increased scrutiny on whether genuine attempts were made to fill positions with local workers before seeking overseas candidates. For applicants who already hold a valid job offer from an Australian employer or who are currently working in Australia on a 482 visa, these changes represent both an opportunity and a responsibility to understand exactly where they stand under the updated rules. Employer-sponsored workers in healthcare, construction, engineering, technology, and aged care are among those most positively affected by the current policy direction. The fourth shift that is directly impacting applicants right now is the change in how states and territories are managing their nomination programs under the subclass 190 and 491 visas. Several states have significantly revised their nomination criteria in response to the federal government's broader policy direction. States are no longer simply nominating anyone who meets the basic points threshold and has an occupation on the list. They are being much more selective, prioritizing applicants who have a genuine and demonstrable connection to their state, applicants who have lived or worked in the state previously, applicants whose occupation addresses a specific and documented shortage in that state's economy, and applicants who are most likely to settle permanently in the state rather than move to a different state after receiving their PR. What this means practically is that the days of simply lodging an expression of interest for every state simultaneously and hoping for the best are largely over. A targeted, researched, and genuine approach to state nomination is now not just recommended, it is essentially required if you want to give yourself a realistic chance of being nominated. The fifth element of the current policy shift that deserves serious attention is the government's updated approach to skills assessment standards. The assessing bodies for several major occupations have updated their assessment frameworks in line with the government's broader focus on ensuring that migrants entering Australia through the skilled program have qualifications and experience that genuinely match Australian workplace standards. The bar for what constitutes a satisfactory skills assessment has been raised in a number of fields, including information technology, engineering, and accounting. Assessments that may have been relatively straightforward to obtain a few years ago now require more detailed evidence of work experience, more specific documentation of tasks performed, and in some cases additional testing or competency demonstration. For applicants who are in the early stages of preparing their skills assessment, this is important information because it means you need to invest more time and care in preparing your assessment application than may have been necessary in the past. For applicants who already hold a skills assessment that was issued more than 2 or 3 years ago, it is worth checking whether a reassessment may be required or whether your existing assessment still fully satisfies the current requirements. The sixth and final aspect of the policy shift that I want to cover today is the government's increased emphasis on English language proficiency as a key factor in the migration selection process. This is not a new requirement, but it is one that is being weighted more heavily in the overall assessment of skilled migrant applications. The government's position is that strong English language ability is one of the most important predictors of successful integration and employment outcomes for migrants in Australia. From a practical standpoint, what this means for applicants is that those who achieve superior English, meaning a score of 8 or above in each band of IELTS or the equivalent in PTE or other accepted tests, are going to be significantly more competitive in the current environment. The 20 bonus points for superior English are not just a nice addition to your score in 2026. They are increasingly becoming a necessity for applicants who want to be genuinely competitive for an invitation. If you have been putting off retaking your English test because your current score was good enough under the old pass mark calculations, the new competitive reality means that now is the time to invest in your English preparation and go for that 8 in every band. So what does all of this mean for you personally? It means that if you are planning your Australian PR journey in 2026, you need to approach it with a completely updated strategy. You need to know your current points score precisely and identify every legitimate way to increase it. You need to seriously consider the regional pathway through the subclass 491 if your current score is below 80 points. You need to research the specific requirements of your target state nomination program and approach it with a genuine connection and targeted application rather than a scattergun approach. You need to ensure your skills assessment is current, meets the latest standards of your assessing body, and accurately reflects your qualifications and experience. You need to prioritize your English language score and aim for superior English if you have not already achieved it. And you need to stay continuously updated on any further policy changes because in Australian immigration the landscape can shift quickly and those who are informed are always better positioned to act at the right moment. That is everything for today, and I genuinely hope this video has given you a clear and honest picture of the policy shift that is shaping Australian PR in 2026 and what it means for your journey specifically. If this was helpful and if it gave you information that you did not have before watching this video, please hit the thumbs up button right now because every like helps Australia PR Insider reach more people who are on the same path and who deserve access to this information. Subscribe to Australia PR Insider if you have not already done so, turn on your notifications, and drop your current situation, your occupation, your point score, or any specific question you have in the comments section below. I read every single comment that comes in, and I will personally reply to as many as I possibly can. Your Australian PR journey is real, it is possible, and with the right information and the right strategy, it is absolutely achievable. The policy has shifted, but the door to Australia has not closed. It has simply changed shape. And now that you know the new shape of that door, you are already ahead of most people. Until the next video, keep moving forward with confidence, and I will see you very soon on Australia PR Insider.